Somewhere in the state of New York, in a rural town called Badger, a family is getting ready for dinner at a small house. While they are praying, suddenly there is an explosion outside, causing the lights to go out. Shortly after the explosion occurred, they finally wake up and realize that the air is poisonous. At the same time, one of the girls is suffocating, followed by all the family members, and they all end up dead, except for the youngest girl who manages to hide in the closet. The scene then moves to New York, where an exobiologist named Lauren hears the news about climate change. It is estimated that by 2030, the Earth can be in a state of danger, allowing for a catastrophe. After that, there is a breaking news about a massive explosion in the rural town of Badger, killing everyone and everything within a 20-mile radius. The reporter informs that the exact cause of the explosion was unknown, whether it was an act of terrorism or a natural disaster. The air around the town is considered poisonous, so the area is now heavily guarded by authorities wearing hazmat suits. Upon hearing the news, Lauren submerges in a bathtub while being haunted by her childhood memories, where there was a man in the car who seems to be her father. Not long after, she meets with 2 US soldiers who want to take her by force. The soldiers say that Lauren must be involved in secret research, as she is urgently needed to deal with the recent explosion in the town of Badger. Therefore, she is taken to the research site near the explosion, where she meets Colonel Emmerich. The colonel introduces her to an astrobiologist named David who will accompany her on her research. Afterwards, Colonel Emmerich explains that the explosion caused by a meteorite, which dissolves into the soil and releases poisonous gases. Because of that, Lauren and David are tasked to investigate the explosion site and provide whatever information they can get their hands on. When they both arrive at the location, David is initially disappointed that they find nothing, only a meteorite crater to investigate. On the other hand, Lauren finds a tiny red sapling growing in the soil, and somehow, she feels a strange connection with it. She even tries to take the plant away, but she instead chooses to spare its life and just takes a picture of it. While continuing her investigation, Lauren discovers that a similar event occurred in Russia. It turns out that a similar meteorite released poisonous gases which killed almost everyone in the vicinity, but the Russian government suppressed the problem and destroyed the unidentified alien object. Even after an eyewitness to the incident was interviewed, the woman was found dead a few days later. Later, Lauren witnesses an autopsy on one of the victims, Robert, who had died earlier from the Badger explosion. As the doctors cut his body, an unusual dark blue substance oozes out of his body, but then moves back upwards like a reverse effect. Suddenly, the dead Robert sits up, causing everyone to be terrified and shocked. The person in charge of the autopsy orders one of the doctors inside to check his pulse. The doctor timidly examines him and stammers to say that the man is cold and has no blood pressure, which is an unprecedented event. After a while, chaos ensues in the hospital as people starts running away. Lauren then looks into the morgue and finds that Robert was not the only one who has somehow come back to life. Surprisingly, only 49 people came back to life out of the 1,300 victims of the Badger explosion. In response, a scientist explains that these 49 victims resided in close proximity of the meteorite explosion. He theorizes that these victims had not only inhaled the poisonous air, but that they might have inhaled scattered fragments from the explosion, causing their internal organs to transform into a formation of a new life form. Lauren then tells Colonel Emmerich about the similar incident that happened in Russia, but the colonel still does not believe her words. Therefore, she conveys this to the government, including the president. At first, the president does not believe her story either, but after hearing all of her requests, the president decides not to incinerate these 49 victims so that further investigation can be carried out. Before continuing her investigation, Lauren remembers her childhood memories for the second time, which reveals a deeper layer of her father saying that they were going somewhere secret and telling her not to tell anyone about this. She then enters the morgue full of victims and casually strolls around the room. While trying to communicate with a victim, Lauren receives a phone call from David, but she declines the call. Suddenly, the victim reacts for the first time after seeing Lauren's cell phone wallpaper, which is the photo of the tiny red sapling from the meteorite crater. She then calls the colonel and David to tell them what just happened. Lauren also asks the colonel for permission to take one of the victims to the explosion site, but he refuses as they still do not know what these victims has turned into. David suddenly says that when Muslims pray, they are commanded to face a specific direction, namely Mecca, the holiest city to them. For some reason, these 49 victims are all facing north, exactly where the meteorite impact took place in Badger. A few moments later, another soldier interrupts their conversation, telling them that the incident has gone viral. The breaking news reports of an alien object growing from the meteorite crater, revealing Lauren's secret of the tiny red plant and that the victims are facing it. Because of this, the colonel finally orders the military to take the undead Robert to the explosion site to find answers about it. Arriving there, Lauren and David are very surprised to see tiny plant has now grown gigantic in just 2 days. The tree completely intoxicates the soil as well as the air around it, creating its own atmosphere. Once Robert is brought into the tree's atmosphere, he comes back to life but as another species. He starts to communicate with Lauren and reveals that he cannot stay where he was before as the current atmosphere is the source of life for him, suggesting that the aliens seeded the tree to create an environment suitable for their species. While Lauren is seen at a press conference reporting on the tree, the scene moves to a mysterious man who watches her on the TV. Back at Lauren's apartment, where her father unexpectedly visits her. However, Lauren seems terrified to see him again and feels uncomfortable around him, even though her father does not seem like an abusive man. Soon, Colonel Emmerich calls her back as Robert specifically only wants to talk with her. He also provides a list of questions to ask Robert. After that, Lauren asks Robert what the aliens want from them. The alien who possessed Robert narrates that their home was no longer habitable, thus they searched for a new home. The aliens choose to live here because their saplings cannot grow anywhere else except the Earth. Furthermore, they were given coordinates and information about the planet by one of humankind named Supernova 94. Meanwhile, Robert gets angry when 2 scientists are examining the tree and drilling a device into it. He asks Lauren to stop their action, but she says that the military will not allow the tree to grow as it can damage the Earth's atmosphere. As a result, the alien uses his abilities to hypnotize one of the scientists into stopping his action. The soldiers immediately point their gun at him, but chaos ensues as he hypnotizes the soldiers into starting to kill each other. On the other side, the Air Force launches missiles at Robert, but something blocks the missiles, causing them to explode midway. It is revealed that the tree has created some kind of shield around it, protecting anyone inside its atmosphere. Elsewhere, the mysterious man hears the news from reporters mentioning Supernova 94. He reacts to the name for some reason and opens a book which has Supernova 94 written on it. A few days after the military is unable to destroy the extraterrestrial plant, chaos ensues around the world. Lauren watches the news of crops dying, earthquakes, and monstrous sounds appearing around them. People from all over the world are praying together for their lives as humanity is on the verge of extinction. It is also shown that the military has chosen to incinerate the victims because they do not want to take any more risks. In an attempt to reconnect with her father, Lauren visits her childhood home where she begins to have an emotional attachment with her past life. Unfortunately, she leaves the house and decides not to see her father, instead choosing to go back to the explosion site. In a narration, Lauren describes the pain she feels of abandonment, like she does not belong anywhere. Instead, she feels a sense of relief when the world comes to an end. When she arrives, she meets Robert, who is standing next to the gigantic tree. The alien tells her that their life growing beneath the Earth, and it all happened thanks to Lauren. It turns out that the sapling on Earth was their last chance to survive, and Lauren decided to spare its life. After that, the alien shows her past about her father, who used to work as a senator, on his way to visit a secret place, namely Area 51, where a UFO crashed there. Before going in, her father asked young Lauren to wait outside. However, after she went to the bathroom, young Lauren heard some voices coming out from the distance. She then followed the voices, leading her to some authorities talking to her father about an alien trying to plant something there. Afterwards, young Lauren somehow found the room where the alien was kept and made contact with the alien, changing her DNA into half alien and half human. Upon seeing a planet that was about to perish, young Lauren passed out before being found by her father. Since that incident, Lauren's intelligence suddenly turned extraordinary. She even designed a blueprint for a rocket at the age of 8. At one time, young Lauren built a communication device and tries to communicate with the aliens. It is finally revealed that she was using the username Supernova 94 inches after looking at a calendar showing a picture of supernova in the year of 1994. After remembering everything, Lauren falls into tears as she finally finds out the answer. Robert then takes her mask off, and obviously she can live in that environment without any hindrance or support. The mysterious man earlier turns out to be a CIA worker who somehow had Lauren's line intercepting with his line, so that he can coincidentally take down notes of what Lauren had been saying to the aliens. At the same time, mysterious egg-shaped objects are appearing around the world. While the aliens remain inside the objects, they release poisonous gases, killing everything around it before they can come out. Moreover, these objects are attached to the roots of the gigantic tree, just as young Lauren predicted in the past. The movie ends with the gigantic tree colonizing the Earth, initiating the extinction of humanity, while Lauren says that she is finally home. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching. You should check these recaps.